Michael Jackson remains one of the most recognizable figures in modern entertainment history. Decades after becoming a global icon, his music, performances, and influence continue to inspire discussions around the world. Over the years, speculation surrounding his appearance generated endless debate. Journalists, fans, doctors, and researchers all attempted to understand the factors that contributed to the dramatic changes observed throughout different periods of his life. Recently, renewed scientific interest in genetic research has encouraged experts to revisit some of those questions, leading to fascinating discussions about what hidden genetic clues may reveal. The story begins long before Michael Jackson became a worldwide superstar. Born into a large family in Indiana, he displayed extraordinary talent at an early age. As a child performer, his appearance reflected the features inherited from generations of relatives. Family photographs from his youth show characteristics shared by siblings, parents, and extended family members. At that stage, few could have predicted that his appearance would later become one of the most discussed topics in popular culture. As Michael's fame grew during the 1970s and early 1980s, public attention focused primarily on his music. Albums achieved unprecedented success, and audiences admired his remarkable performances. Yet, alongside his professional achievements, observers gradually noticed physical changes. Some changes appeared subtle at first, others became increasingly visible over time. Media organizations began publishing articles examining every aspect of his appearance, often without understanding the medical factors that might be involved. Vitiligo is a disorder that causes patches of skin to lose pigmentation. The condition occurs when pigment-producing cells, known as melanocytes, are damaged or destroyed. As a result, affected areas become lighter than surrounding skin. Many people were unfamiliar with the condition, leading to widespread speculation whenever visible changes appeared. During Michael Jackson's lifetime, discussions often focused on assumptions rather than medical evidence. This revelation shifted scientific attention toward understanding why certain individuals develop the condition while others do not. Scientists have identified multiple genes associated with immune system regulation and pigment production. Variations within these genes may increase the likelihood of developing pigmentation disorders. Researchers examining large populations have discovered that vitiligo often involves complex interactions between numerous genetic factors, rather than a single inherited mutation. These findings suggest that an individual's DNA may contain subtle combinations of traits influencing susceptibility. Although detailed genetic data associated with private individuals is generally protected, scientists can study broader patterns observed among patients with similar medical histories. By examining how specific genetic variations influence pigment loss, researchers gain valuable insights into the biological mechanisms responsible for conditions like vitiligo. These investigations have revealed that immune system activity plays a central role. In many cases, the body's immune defenses mistakenly target melanocytes, gradually reducing pigmentation in affected areas. As genetic technologies advanced during the 21st century, scientists uncovered additional complexity. This suggests that the biological pathways involved extend beyond skin pigmentation alone. Researchers studying these relationships have discovered networks of genes influencing how the immune system identifies and responds to different cells throughout the body. Small variations within these networks may significantly affect an individual's risk profile. Modern sequencing technologies allow scientists to examine genetic information with unprecedented detail. Researchers can identify subtle variations that earlier generations of scientists could never detect. This capability has opened new opportunities for understanding complex conditions influenced by multiple genetic factors. The discussion surrounding Michael Jackson's DNA emerged within this broader scientific context. Researchers interested in pigmentation disorders recognized that his case represented one of the most visible examples of vitiligo ever observed. Millions of photographs documented changes occurring across many years. This extensive visual record provided unique opportunities to study how pigmentation disorders can progress over time. While researchers could not access private medical information without authorization, they could analyze broader scientific questions raised by such highly visible cases. Another factor contributing to scientific interest involved family history. Genetic traits often reveal themselves through patterns extending across generations. Scientists studying hereditary conditions frequently examine family relationships to identify clues regarding inheritance. The role of genetics became even more intriguing when scientists began examining interactions between pigment-related genes and immune system regulation. Earlier research often treated these areas as separate fields. However, modern studies increasingly demonstrate that biological systems operate through interconnected networks. Genes influencing skin pigmentation may interact indirectly with genes controlling immune responses. These relationships create complex patterns that researchers continue exploring today. While public discussions often focused exclusively on appearance, scientists approach the subject from a different perspective. Questions regarding how melanocytes function, why immune systems sometimes target healthy cells, and how genetic variations influence disease risk extend far beyond any individual case. As interest in genetic science expanded, researchers identified dozens of candidate genes potentially involved in pigmentation disorders. Some regulate immune system communication, others influence melanocyte development, survival, or function. Certain genetic variations appear repeatedly among individuals diagnosed with vitiligo, suggesting meaningful biological connections. Yet, scientists emphasize that genetics alone rarely determines outcomes. Environmental factors, stress, immune activity, and other influences also contribute significantly. This complexity explains why researchers often describe vitiligo as a multifactorial condition. Unlike disorders caused by single genetic mutations, multifactorial conditions emerge through interactions involving numerous variables. Understanding these interactions remains one of the greatest challenges in modern genetics. Sophisticated computer models help scientists identify patterns within enormous datasets, but many questions remain unanswered. Public fascination with Michael Jackson ensured that scientific discussions occasionally attracted media attention. Headlines frequently suggested dramatic discoveries, yet researchers generally adopted more cautious interpretations. Scientific progress typically occurs through gradual accumulation of evidence rather than sudden revelations. Each study contributes another piece to a larger puzzle. Over time, these pieces combine to create increasingly detailed understanding. The hidden genetic mystery associated with pigmentation disorders reflects this process. Researchers have not uncovered a single secret gene explaining every aspect of the condition. Instead, they have revealed intricate biological networks involving immune regulation, pigment production, cellular communication, and environmental interactions. These discoveries demonstrate how complex human biology truly is. As genetic research continues advancing, scientists expect additional breakthroughs. Emerging technologies allow examination of DNA at levels previously unimaginable. Researchers can analyze individual cells, track gene activity in real time, and explore molecular interactions with extraordinary precision. Such capabilities may eventually clarify many remaining questions surrounding pigmentation disorders and related conditions. For now, the scientific significance lies not in sensational claims, but in the remarkable progress achieved through decades of research. Questions once considered impossible to answer are gradually yielding to investigation. Conditions that were poorly understood a generation ago can now be studied at molecular and genetic levels. Every discovery improves understanding of how human biology functions and why certain disorders develop. The story of the hidden genetic mystery is therefore larger than any single individual. It represents humanity's ongoing effort to understand the biological instructions encoded within DNA. Researchers continue exploring how genes influence appearance, health, and disease susceptibility. Along the way, they uncover insights that challenge assumptions and reveal unexpected connections between seemingly unrelated biological processes. In the case of pigmentation disorders, modern genetics has already transformed scientific understanding. What once appeared mysterious can now be examined through detailed molecular analysis. Researchers have identified genetic pathways, immune mechanisms, and cellular processes contributing to pigment loss. Although important questions remain unresolved, the foundations of understanding grow stronger each year. The investigation continues because DNA still contains countless secrets waiting to be discovered. Hidden within the genetic code are clues regarding human development, health, and biological diversity. As technology advances, researchers gain access to information that previous generations could scarcely imagine. Each breakthrough reveals another layer of complexity and another opportunity for discovery. The search for answers surrounding pigmentation disorders, inherited traits, and genetic influences remains far from complete, and scientists believe the most important revelations may still lie ahead. The scientific interest in pigmentation disorders and genetic research continued to grow. The discussion surrounding Michael Jackson's DNA became part of a much larger exploration into how human traits are shaped by complex biological systems. Researchers who studied vitiligo, immune regulation, and genetic variation began to look beyond individual cases, and instead focused on broader patterns that could explain why certain conditions appear in some individuals but not in others. Within this framework, the case that had once been treated mostly as a public curiosity became a reference point for deeper scientific investigation. One of the most important directions of research involved the interaction between immune system behavior and genetic predisposition. Scientists studying autoimmune conditions discovered that the immune system sometimes misidentifies healthy cells as threats. In the case of vitiligo, this process results in the destruction of melanocytes, the cells responsible for producing skin pigment. However, what remained unclear for many years was why this misidentification occurs in the first place. Genetic studies suggested that multiple contributing factors may influence immune system sensitivity, including variations in genes responsible for regulating immune responses. These variations do not directly cause disease on their own, but can increase susceptibility when combined with environmental triggers. As researchers expanded their studies, they began identifying clusters of genes that appeared repeatedly among individuals with autoimmune-related pigmentation disorders. These gene clusters were not identical in every case, but they shared functional similarities. Some controlled how immune cells communicate with each other, while others influenced how the body distinguishes between healthy and abnormal cells. The complexity of these interactions made it difficult to isolate a single cause. Instead, scientists increasingly viewed vitiligo as the result of a network of genetic and biological factors working together in unpredictable ways. During this period, advances in genomic sequencing provided researchers with unprecedented access to detailed genetic information. Large-scale studies allowed scientists to compare thousands of genetic samples from individuals with and without pigmentation disorders. These comparisons revealed subtle variations that had previously gone unnoticed. Many of these variations were extremely small, often involving changes in a single nucleotide within the DNA sequence. Yet even minor differences could influence how certain genes functioned, potentially affecting immune responses or pigment production pathways. The increasing sophistication of genetic analysis also allowed researchers to explore how genes interact over time. Rather than functioning independently, genes operate within dynamic systems influenced by development, aging, and environmental exposure. This understanding shifted scientific focus away from isolated genetic mutations toward more complex models involving gene networks. These networks helped explain why two individuals with similar genetic markers might experience completely different outcomes. One might develop a pigmentation disorder while the other remains unaffected throughout life. In the context of Michael Jackson's widely discussed physical changes, scientists emphasized that visible traits alone could not provide sufficient evidence for genetic conclusions. Human appearance is influenced by numerous factors beyond genetics, including medical treatments, environmental exposure, and natural biological variation. While vitiligo played a documented role in his case, researchers remained careful not to draw unsupported conclusions about specific genetic details without verified data. Instead, they used the broader discussion as an opportunity to educate the public about how complex biological systems operate. At the same time, studies on pigmentation disorders began uncovering connections between melanin production and other physiological processes. Melanin, the pigment responsible for skin, hair, and eye color, also plays a role in protecting cells from environmental stress. Researchers discovered that melanocytes interact with surrounding skin cells in ways that influence immune signaling and cellular health. This discovery suggested that pigmentation disorders might have effects extending beyond visible skin changes, potentially influencing broader aspects of biological function. Further investigation revealed that oxidative stress might also contribute to melanocyte damage. Oxidative stress occurs when there is an imbalance between free radicals and the body's ability to neutralize them. This imbalance can damage cells and disrupt normal biological processes. Some studies indicated that individuals with vitiligo may experience increased sensitivity to oxidative stress, which could trigger or worsen pigment loss in genetically susceptible individuals. However, the exact relationship between oxidative stress and immune dysfunction remained an active area of research. As genetic and biochemical research advanced, scientists began integrating multiple disciplines to form more comprehensive models of disease development. Immunology, molecular biology, and genetics were combined to better understand how pigmentation disorders arise. These interdisciplinary approaches revealed that no single factor could fully explain the condition. Instead, it resulted from a combination of genetic susceptibility, immune system behavior, environmental influences, and cellular stress responses. Public interest in the subject continued to grow, especially as media coverage often presented scientific findings in simplified or exaggerated forms. Researchers frequently expressed concern that complex genetic discoveries were being misinterpreted. They emphasized that identifying genetic associations does not equate to identifying direct causes. A gene associated with a condition may increase risk without guaranteeing its development. This distinction is critical in understanding modern genetic science, yet it is often overlooked in public discussions. In parallel with scientific progress, ethical considerations surrounding genetic research became increasingly important. Questions arose about privacy, consent, and the appropriate use of genetic information. Scientists recognized that DNA contains highly sensitive data, not only about individuals, but also about their families and future generations. As a result, strict ethical guidelines were developed to regulate how genetic data is collected, stored, and analyzed. These protections ensure that research can continue responsibly while respecting individual rights. Within this ethical framework, researchers continued exploring large data sets to identify patterns in pigmentation disorders. One of the most significant findings was the identification of multiple immune-related pathways involved in melanocyte destruction. These pathways involve complex signaling processes that determine how immune cells respond to perceived threats. When these systems become dysregulated, they can mistakenly target healthy cells. Genetic variations affecting these pathways may increase the likelihood of such misregulation, though environmental triggers are often required to initiate the process. Another important discovery involved the role of cellular communication in skin pigmentation. Scientists found that melanocytes do not function in isolation, but rely on signals from surrounding cells to maintain stability and function. Disruptions in these communication pathways can affect pigment production and cell survival. Genetic variations influencing these signaling processes may therefore contribute indirectly to pigmentation disorders. This finding added yet another layer of complexity to an already intricate biological system. As research progressed, scientists also examined how stress and psychological factors might influence immune activity. While stress alone does not cause genetic disorders, it can affect immune system regulation in ways that may contribute to the onset or progression of certain conditions. Studies suggested that prolonged stress could potentially act as a triggering factor in individuals with underlying genetic susceptibility. However, researchers stressed that this relationship is not fully understood and requires further investigation. Throughout these developments, the scientific community maintained a cautious approach. Despite public fascination with dramatic explanations, researchers consistently highlighted the importance of evidence-based conclusions. The complexity of human genetics makes simple answers unlikely. Instead, discoveries often reveal additional layers of complexity that challenge previous assumptions. This ongoing process is a fundamental part of scientific progress. In the case of pigmentation disorders, the integration of genetic, immunological, and environmental research has significantly advanced understanding. Scientists now have a clearer picture of how multiple systems interact to influence disease development. However, many questions remain unanswered. The precise triggers of immune misregulation, the full range of genetic contributions, and the role of environmental influences are still being studied. As interest in genetic science continues to expand, researchers expect future breakthroughs to further clarify these mechanisms. Emerging technologies such as advanced genome mapping, artificial intelligence analysis, and single-cell sequencing are providing new tools for investigation. These technologies allow scientists to observe biological processes in unprecedented detail, potentially revealing insights that were previously impossible to obtain. The study of pigmentation disorders, once limited to visible symptoms, has evolved into a complex field involving deep molecular analysis and systems biology. Each new discovery contributes to a more complete understanding of how human traits are formed and how diseases develop. While public curiosity often focuses on individual cases, scientists view these cases as entry points into broader biological questions. Ultimately, the ongoing research surrounding genetic mysteries reflects a larger scientific journey. It is a journey aimed not at finding simple explanations for complex phenomena, but at uncovering the intricate mechanisms that govern life itself. The story of pigmentation disorders, immune responses, and genetic variation continues to unfold, driven by advances in technology and expanding scientific knowledge. With each step forward, researchers move closer to understanding the hidden biological systems that shape human diversity and health.